All right, guys. Super excited for today's episode on the Marketing Games podcast. And yeah, for today's episode, we have the one and only Johnny Baskin from Nomadic Advertising. And I am super excited for this. Before we even get started, brother, one of the things that I want to celebrate, and I'm super pumped that you're here to celebrate this with us, is that we just crossed the 100 daily listeners on the podcast. So I actually found out today, and I'm happy to have you here to talk a little bit about that. But yeah,
congratulations.
Thank you, man.
That's awesome.
I really appreciate it, man. But that aside, one of the things that I want the listeners to really understand is what we're going to talk about today based on what Johnny does with his agency, right? A little bit of background. They provide marketing on Google Ads mostly and SEO. That's like the core of what you guys do, right? But on top of that, you do some social media management. They are crushing it in the web development and the SEO space, right? And I know that you have been interested in some super cool topics that we'll be discussing later on today, man. But that aside, brother, if you want to introduce yourself and let us know a little bit in a more deeply fashion what you guys do and who you are, please go ahead, man.
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, our agency is Nomadic Advertising. And basically we work with clients that are looking to get more exposure online. And we work in a wide variety of industries. And that really allows us to, take learnings from one industry, apply it to another industry. And we don't do the same thing that everybody else is doing, right? So a lot of agencies, what they do is they just focus on one industry. They have the same strategies that they use for all of their clients. But we take a much more kind of personal approach where the strategy that we build is specific for your company, for your goals. And to do that, we use a variety of channels, as you mentioned, Google, social media. We also do website development on WordPress. So yeah, quite a few things.
Brother, now that you mentioned WordPress, one of those things that I always like to ask for people that are in the web development space more than anything is, and listen, we over here at Fund Scaling, we don't even offer web development services or anything. We actually host our own website we actually go high level for that purpose because we're not really into let's say web development in general. But I'm curious because I know that there are other alternatives nowadays that might sound a little bit sexier than the good old WordPress, right? Like Webflow, maybe, I don't know, man. There are Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, even, of course, depending on what you are working on. And man, I wanted to hear your thoughts on why is it important, or why should people consider or keep using WordPress if this is what they know about, for example?
Yeah. It's an extremely crowded market. There's tons of different solutions, right? And I wouldn't say that there's like one solution that's necessarily the best solution for everybody. So it's not like WordPress is, the best solution for everybody. But we build on WordPress and we really like using WordPress. And one of the main reasons and one of the big differentiators from WordPress and a lot of the other website providers out there is you own the code. You can self-host a WordPress site. I don't recommend that you use WordPress.com. You should go to WordPress.org, download the WordPress files, self-host your own WordPress website, and you own all of that code. You can do anything that you want with that WordPress website because you have that flexibility, because you own the code. You don't have to worry about, if you're working with somebody like Shopify or Squarespace or Wix, if one of these companies goes out of business, you're screwed because your website is being hosted on their servers and you don't have access to those files, right? If you want to implement some sort of crazy functionality that they don't already have, like a plugin or widget that can do, you're screwed, right? So WordPress actually allows you to own the code, to build the website, to truly own your website. And I think that that's a huge selling point for businesses that are looking to mitigate risk. WordPress is also the most popular CMS platform on the internet. Most websites are built in WordPress. There's tons of integration. There's tons of plugins. It's a double-edged sword because all of the integrations and plugins that are out there make it so that, the possibilities are endless. But also because it's in this open source environment, there's no one authority that's like vetting every single option out there. And that's why sometimes people complain that, their WordPress site is slow or their WordPress site was hacked. But at the end of the day, it's just about setting up the website properly so that you can mitigate those problems and make sure that everything runs smoothly. So I think WordPress is a great option. It's very budget friendly as well, because like I mentioned, it's open source, right? So really you only have to pay for the hosting if you are a web developer yourself and can set it up. And if you're a business owner, then it's super easy to find people to work on the website, to make changes to the website, because WordPress has been around for so long and there's so many developers that are familiar with it.
Sure. One of those things that you mentioned that I would love to maybe, just discuss, because you told at the beginning that there might be, of course, it's not like an end-to-end and there's only one solution for everybody. Who can benefit from other softwares or other platforms that are not WordPress, for example?
Yeah, so I would say that the other platforms like Wix and Squarespace and these kind of platforms are really great for people that are not web developers, that are starting a business, but don't have a lot of capital. So they don't have the money set aside to pay a website developer to do all the work. Because like I said, WordPress, a lot of things can go wrong too, because it's open source, and we have all of these different integrations, all these different possibilities. The flip side of it is if you don't know what you're doing, you can break your website and, have a lot of issues. So definitely, if you're a beginner, if you don't know a lot about website development, if you don't have the budget, the funds to pay a website developer, then I would recommend that you use, one of those other platforms until you scale your business to a bigger size and you can actually afford to pay a website developer, at which point I would recommend you switch to WordPress.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. And I noticed that, I think that it was last week or the week after last that I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about literally more than 45% or even 50%, I don't remember, of the entire website, of all websites that exist out there, all of them, well, more than 50% are actually made with WordPress, right? So it's definitely a big engine and, a super big company that is basically never going to live, right? So I also think that that's our point. Like if you learn WordPress, you're pretty much good to go for the rest of life. You don't have to go through the learning curve of learning Webflow, etc. Right? So definitely,
Yeah.
Man, what you said is super valuable for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would add is like, how I said that if Squarespace or Wix or one of these companies goes out of business, your website goes down. With WordPress, you might say, well, what if it's the same thing happens? What if WordPress goes out of business? Well, the thing is WordPress is actually an organization, right? It's an open source piece of software. So even if the founders of WordPress or the creators of WordPress say, we don't want to work on this anymore, you've got a whole community that's actually building on the platform. So it's never going to die unless there truly is going to be like, a metaverse or something crazy that everybody's not using websites anymore. But I don't think we're at that point yet. So.
Exactly. And then we will be learning like MetaPress or something like that. WordPress 2.0, right? Awesome. Johnny, one of those things that the first time we connected around 2 weeks ago or something that really stuck up to me is that you have been interested in blockchain. I think that since 2014, right? And I know that this is a topic that, and me included, it's kind of weird to talk about because just the people that are inside of the community or inside of the industry actually know what to talk about, right? Because it's it has like its unique vocabulary, let's say, right? That being said, because I know that you are really into that industry, into that space, I would love to know a little bit on some best practices, marketing practices for this complex industries or complex business models like crypto businesses, blockchain businesses, etc. And maybe some ways on how a company understand marketing where there's this complex, I don't know, this complex, of course, mess of things that maybe are like super hard to understand if you're not inside of that space, right? I don't know if it was a good way to ask it, but it's basically the good example of what somebody that is not from that industry or that space actually thinks about the space, right? So yeah, man, I would love to hear your thoughts and some best practices, etc. Right?
Yeah, for sure. We do work with companies in the blockchain space as well as companies in the fintech space, right? These industries are, very complicated and complex in some cases, and it can be hard for people to understand. And especially in the blockchain space right now, it's very tricky as a marketing company because Google ads don't really like you. Facebook ads don't really like you. Unfortunately, within the crypto space, while blockchain is a very innovative technology, there are also bad actors, people that are using it to take advantage of people that don't have much knowledge, and there's a lot of scams in the space, right? So that's why all of these advertising platforms, they're being super careful with this space, which totally makes sense. And what that has really done is it's created an amazing opportunity for companies to advertise in a more organic way, right? So instead of running Google ads, focusing on SEO, right? So just to give you an example, like right now, there's a lot of people that are confused about the crypto space. They go to Google, they search questions like, what is a DAO, for example, right? It's like a buzzword, right? And a lot of people don't know outside of the space, right? If you're a crypto company, you actually have the opportunity now to help be part of that education, to create that content, to educate the users in the market. How does this work? What is a DAO? What's the difference between a centralized versus a decentralized blockchain, right? So there's all of these kind of things that people are going to Google to. They're searching for it. They're trying to learn about it. And right now, there's not a lot of companies that are actually creating that kind of content because, all the companies are very focused on creating content about themselves. Why should you buy my token? Why should you use my blockchain? Right. Mm-hmm. But instead, like we're at a point where a lot of the market doesn't even know what a blockchain is. Right. So you need to create that content to actually educate the market. And if you do that, then it gives you a really good opportunity to have people see you as an authority in that space. Right now, that's up for grabs. We have a few companies in the blockchain space that are big, but even a lot of those companies are imploding, right? Like, I'm not sure if you've heard of the scandal with FTX, one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges. They just went bankrupt, right? So Celsius, another example, BlockFi, another example. These are companies that people saw as major players in the space. Now they're dying, right? So this really leaves a great opportunity for an ethical company to come in and start to educate the market, become that authority in the space. And that's definitely one approach that I would really recommend that companies do, because there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of people trying to find the right answers. And by doing this content-driven approach, you can really help people to do that. And, we've even done this approach in the fintech space. One of our clients, we took over their blog. We created tons of content around fintech, what business owners should be doing when they're looking to use a fintech provider like our client. Our client is now generating over 60,000 visits to their website completely organically from Google. Even if today they tell me, Johnny, I don't want to work with you anymore, they're still going to continue to generate 60,000 visits to their website every single month until another player comes to the market and creates better content than them, right? So, and especially with ad networks not liking blockchain, not liking the cryptocurrency space, I think really the focus needs to be on organic. It needs to be on building content. It needs to be on building a community. And that's what I would recommend for companies. Really, any company that's in a very technical space where there's a lot of confusion and people are searching for answers.
You mentioned something that I would love to just make the best use of our time now that we're here talking about the subject, and it was that not you, but businesses that are in these technical or complex spaces should educate via their content. And of course, if we are, let's say, SEO mindful, we want to create blog posts, we want to maybe do networking so that we can have backlinks with other companies, etc. Right? But one thing that I would love to know, maybe for people that are even outside a little bit on those complex and techy industries, that might be interested and listen, I'm literally an ignorant, so that's why I want to ask you, not only for me, but also for the listeners that might be in the same situation as I am. Everybody is talking about launching NFT projects, and that any company can benefit from launching an NFT project to the marketplace as a virtual asset or basically an asset that they can leverage to separate themselves from the competition or whatever it is. Like, if I asked you that, who would you recommend or suggest to launch an NFT project? Who should launch an NFT project? Basically, that's the question. And given that you give an answer, or let's say that it was everyone. Of course, I don't know if that's going to be the answer. But if that was the answer, or if that were the answer, how should they go about it? Or what does that even mean? Like, what is the benefit? I don't know, man, because literally I don't know anything about the subject. I want to learn, and also I know that some listeners might be in the same spot as me, man. So I would love to know.
Yeah, so NFTs have really blown up
Yeah,
over the past 2 years, I would say, and obviously a lot of brands have been getting in on it, have been taking advantage of the hype of NFTs to create their own NFTs and promote themselves.
yeah,
I think that this strategy can work if you're a very big brand and you have a big brand image. Like if you're McDonald's or you're Budweiser, or you already have a huge brand following,
yeah,
it could be worth considering. But what I would say is, as a brand, you have to be extremely, extremely careful, because you do not want your customers to buy your NFT, see that there's no use case for the NFT, and then now think, well, McDonald's just scammed me because they sold me this NFT and there's literally nothing that I can do with it, right? So if you're a brand and you're looking to launch an NFT, even if you're a small brand, right? And small brands can leverage NFTs, but at the end of the day, it comes down to usability. Like, does your NFT actually have a use case? Is there a reason for somebody to hold your NFT? And if you can't think of a reason for somebody to want to own your NFT, then I would really kind of pause and watch how the market plays out a little bit more. We're still very, very early in the blockchain space, very, very early in the crypto space. Like, I think about blockchain and crypto similar to the internet. And the reason why I say that is because the internet had a very network effect. As more people started to get on email, then they wanted to message their friends would get onto email, right? So it has this network effect. Blockchain works in the same way. It has this network effect. Right now, we're like in the 90s of internet technology, right? There's some people that are using blockchain. There's some people that are saying, this is going to be amazing. But just like when the internet first came out, people said, well, look, I can't even download a video. It takes me 3 days. Nobody's ever going to use this internet thing, right? Because the videos don't work. The crypto space is the same way right now. Like, the crypto technology is still in development. We're not at that peak that a lot of the people in the crypto industry say, like, oh, this technology is amazing because you can do X, Y, and Z. Actually, a lot of that stuff you cannot do today because the technology is not quite there yet, right? So we need to still, watch carefully, see how it plays out. I wouldn't do it just as kind of like a cash grab, and we have companies that approach us all the time that, they have an NFT project, that they're looking to launch and they're trying to sell it. And the first thing that I always ask them is, well, what's the use case for your NFT? Is there some sort of utility to it? Is there a reason for people to own it? And if they don't have, a good use case other than, well, it's going to go up in value, then frankly, like, I don't want to work with those companies either, because I don't want to promote something that's, doesn't actually have a use case, right? So I think it could be a good opportunity, but you really have to think about how can you use the NFTs, and, why are people going to own them? Whether that be because it gives them access to some sort of content, or, to an event, or to a space, or, something like that. There's a lot of possibilities there, but I wouldn't launch it just for the sake of like launching an NFT, just for the sake of marketing purposes.
yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts of people that actually do suggest, like, hey, you should do that just for marketing purposes, and actually use that as, hey, the reason why you should prefer me instead of the other competitor is because I have an NFT project that you can join, for example, right? So yeah, man, I think that was super insightful for sure. And Johnny, listen, I always like to ask that podcast guests that we have, two questions, but of course I'll start with the first one. What is one thing that you would like to tell the listener? It could be business related, or it could be whatever it is about life, that you wish you had heard when you started in your business, whatever it might be. It could be, hey man, do more outreach, or it could be, hey man, create more content, whatever it might be, man. Just anything that you generally would like to share, man.
Yeah, is it okay if I share just a couple things here?
Sure. Go ahead, man.
So the first thing is, I would say, if you're starting a business, do things your own way, right? Don't just look at your competitors and try to do what your competitors do. When I first started my agency, that's what I did, right? I heard a lot of agencies were getting business. This was a few years back now, going door to door, right? And knocking on business owners, right? I knocked on over 100 business owners' doors, right? I didn't make a single sale from it. That didn't work for me, right? I had to find my own way to do things, right? My own approach to be able to grow my business. And, definitely you can try things, but really try to do things in your own way, because the thing is that the things that everybody is doing is like, that's what everybody's doing, so it's extremely difficult, right? And even going back to, you know, the beginning of this conversation, like I said, our agency doesn't focus on one particular industry. If you go online, you search, you know, I'm starting an agency, what should I do? Every single person is going to tell you focus on one industry, right? So that now, you know, now everybody's doing that, right? And companies are starting to realize, hey, this marketing agency that said that they know my industry and they only work with people in my industry, they only have like 2 clients. And, you know, this other agency, maybe they have 20 clients, but they have 5 clients that are in my industry and 15 that are in another industry. So people are starting to realize that, you know, that point of that selling point is basically, you know, starting to dry out, right? And maybe that works for you. And, you know, like I said, for everybody, it's going to be different. The other thing that I would like to say is at the end of the day, you know, a business is not a business if it doesn't have sales, right? I came from a technical background. Before I had my own agency, I was working at another agency. I was doing SEO, right? So when I started my agency, I was like, man, we're going to have like the best SEO. We're going to have like the best technical stuff, right? I'm not a sales guy, so it's going to be great. But what I realized is that if you're not making sales, then you don't have a business, right? You just have an idea, right? So if you're, you know, starting a business, definitely I would say focus on the sales. That's what definitely should come first. And don't expect any marketing hack to grow your business for you. You've got to be like relentless, you know, doing everything that you can, especially in the beginning, and just focus on getting sales however you can.
Awesome. No, man, I think that that's super valuable. And of course, but for some people listening, they might be like, oh man, don't tell me, because my favorite guru just told me to niche down and to have only one ideal client profile, etc. And I mean, some people might not agree. Some people might love the fact that you're saying that. And that's what matters. Like, you actually took the time to be genuine and let us know what you genuinely think, right? For sure. So I appreciate that. And the last question I always like to ask is, if you can recommend or let us know what your favorite book is and your favorite TV show or movie. That's more personal, but it's just like for people to know who you are, right?
Yeah. Okay. Let me think here. So
Grab you super cold, right? It was like, wow, I never expected that question.
yeah. So maybe I would start with you know, favorite show. And I'm always watching lots of shows, so yeah, my things are always changing. But one that I really love is a show called Nathan For You. It's by a Canadian, right? I'm also Canadian, and it's also about business, which I love shows about business. But it's got a lot of comedy in it, and I love shows that have comedy too. So it's really got you know, all of the different elements that I like in a show. And for the favorite book, I'm going to say a book that I read when I was just starting my business. And this book really changed my mindset about, you know, what I wanted to do in life and how to make the right path. And the name is a little bit cheesy, but the book is called The Millionaire Fast Lane. And I definitely recommend that if you're somebody that's, you know, entrepreneurial, that's thinking about starting a business, that you read this book, because it really outlines a lot of things.
Man, I have that one in my to read list for sure, man. I've heard, honestly, not that many people talk about it, but the people that I know that talk about it are people that I respect a lot, to be honest. So that's why I want to read that one. What was the name of the show, by the way? Is because I didn't understood it. Nathan? What?
Nathan For You.
Nathan For You. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And if you love business and you love comedy, you're going to love it.
Yeah, man. I'll give it a look for sure. Awesome. Johnny, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. And yeah, man, I hope that we can keep talking, keep connecting. And for anyone listening, where can they find you if they wanted to connect with you, etc.?
Yeah. So right now, mainly the social media that I'm using is LinkedIn. So you can look me up on LinkedIn, Johnny Baskin. You can also go to my website, johnnybaskin.com. There I have links to everything else. And of course, if you want to work with our agency, you're looking for a marketing partner, then nomadicadvertising.com is our agency website.
Awesome. Brother, thank you very much for your time. And it's been a pleasure having you here, man.
Yeah, thank you as well.